If you're over 60, there is something I need you to hear, not as a doctor speaking to a patient, but as someone who has spent decades watching seniors slowly lose their strength, independence, and confidence. Weak legs don't just make walking difficult, they change how a person lives. I've seen people stop going to the grocery store, avoid stairs, give up hobbies they once loved, and even cancel family trips. Not because their hearts were failing, not because their muscles were gone, but because their arteries could no longer deliver proper blood flow to their legs. Most seniors assume that muscle loss, balance problems, and leg fatigue are just normal aging, but aging is not the enemy. Nutrient deficiency is. When the arteries stiffen, narrow, or collect plaque, the legs become starved of oxygen, nutrients, and circulation, and that's when the symptoms begin. Heaviness, swelling, cramping, burning, numbness, cold feet, or the feeling that the legs give out too quickly. And here's what most people never realize. Leg weakness almost always starts in the arteries, not the muscles. If the blood can't travel freely, the muscles can't repair, can't rebuild, and eventually begin to shrink. That's why so many seniors say, "I eat well, but I still feel weak," or "I try walking, but my legs get tired so fast." The problem is not effort, it's impaired circulation. I've treated hundreds of seniors who believed they were doing everything right, taking walks, doing light exercises, drinking water, yet their legs grew weaker every year. And once we tested their blood, we discovered what most doctors ignore. They were severely deficient in the vitamins required to protect artery walls, reduce inflammation, and keep blood flowing smoothly. Once we restored these vitamin levels, everything changed. Their legs didn't just feel better, they felt alive again. That is why today, I'm not talking about random supplements, protein powders, or miracle workouts. I'm talking about 3 specific vitamins that directly protect the arteries, reverse hidden deficiencies, and make it easier for seniors to walk, stand, climb, and stay mobile. These vitamins are backed by research, but more importantly, I've seen them work in real people, men and women who thought they were too old to improve until their blood flow returned and their energy came back. Let me be very clear. You do not lose leg strength because of age. You lose it because circulation is damaged. Arteries don't harden overnight. They harden over years of low-nutrient, high-inflammation living. And mobility after 60 is not about exercising harder. It's about nourishing the system that powers movement. If you've been feeling tired legs after just a few minutes of walking, pins and needles or numbness in feet, check swelling around ankles or calves, cold feet, even in warm weather, pain when climbing stairs or standing too long, then your arteries are already signaling distress, and these vitamins are not optional, they're critical. You don't need to take dozens of pills, and you don't need a complicated routine. But you do need these vitamins if you want to. Walk without pain, stand without wobbling, stop feeling like your legs are too heavy. Protect yourself from circulation-related diseases, stay independent for as long as possible. Your mobility is your freedom, and freedom begins with healthy arteries. Before we continue, let me ask you, where are you watching from? I'd love to know which part of the world you're tuning in from, and also, what's one healthy habit you never skip in your daily routine? Share it with us in the comments below. Number 3. Vitamin E. When most people hear the word vitamin E, they think of skin creams or anti-aging products sold in pharmacies. But as a doctor who has worked with seniors for many years, I can tell you, vitamin E's real power is not in the skin, it's in the arteries. Especially for anyone over the age of 60, vitamin E becomes a quiet but essential protector of blood flow, circulation, and leg strength. And yet, most seniors I test are deficient and they don't even know it. Let me explain why this deficiency matters. After 60, the blood naturally becomes thicker, circulation slows down, and the artery walls become more sensitive to inflammation. This is due to aging, reduced nutrient absorption, and long-term exposure to processed foods, stress, medications, and silent oxidative damage. When blood thickens and arteries stiffen, the legs are the first to suffer. They are farthest from the heart and require the strongest circulation to stay alive, energized, and pain-free. This is where vitamin E makes a life-changing difference. It thins the blood safely and naturally, not like a pharmaceutical blood thinner, but by preventing red blood cells from clumping together. When this happens, blood moves freely again, Oxygen reaches the muscles, and the legs stop feeling like they are running out of fuel. I've seen seniors who could barely walk to their mailbox suddenly regain the ability to shop, garden, or walk in the park again, not because they suddenly got younger, but because their blood flow returned to the legs. Vitamin E also protects the endothelium, the delicate inner lining of the arteries. Think of this lining like a smooth, polished surface that keeps blood flowing without friction. But without enough antioxidants, the surface becomes rough, inflamed, and attracts plaque. Vitamin E acts like a shield, preventing this damage and helping restore softness and elasticity to artery walls that have grown stiff with age. And this part is extremely important for seniors. Vitamin E helps prevent clots. Vitamin E protects against plaque formation. Vitamin E reduces inflammation inside arteries. Vitamin E improves blood circulation to the legs and feet. That means fewer cold toes, fewer nighttime cramps, fewer swollen ankles, fewer dead-feeling legs after sitting too long, and better walking strength. One of my patients, a 68-year-old woman, used to feel a burning sensation in her calves every time she walked for more than 5 minutes. Her doctor blamed nerve damage, but her vitamin E was nearly depleted. 3 months after correcting it through food and supplementation, her symptoms dropped dramatically. Not because her nerves healed overnight, but because her circulation finally reached them again. And here is something every senior should know. Even if you eat vegetables, your ability to absorb fat-soluble vitamins like vitamin E drops with age, especially if you are on low-fat diets, cholesterol medications, or have digestive issues. That means even a healthy diet may no longer be enough. When vitamin E levels finally come back up, something beautiful happens. Seniors don't just move better, they feel younger inside their own body again. They report lighter legs, improved energy while walking, warmth returning to cold feet, checkmark less swelling after sitting, better balance and stamina. That is the kind of change that brings back freedom, real freedom, the ability to walk, stand, move, and live independently. Now that we have covered vitamin E, the circulation protector, it's time to go one layer deeper. Number 2. Vitamin K2. If there is one vitamin that almost every senior has never been told about, yet desperately needs, it is vitamin K2. And I want to be very clear, vitamin K2 is not the same as vitamin K1. K1 helps with blood clotting, but K2 has a completely different job. It controls where calcium goes in the body. This matters more than most people realize because after 60, something very dangerous begins to happen inside the arteries. Calcium starts depositing in the artery walls instead of the bones, turning flexible blood vessels into stiff, pipe-like structures. This is called vascular calcification, and it is the silent process behind hardening of the arteries. High blood pressure, blocked circulation in the legs, increased stroke and heart attack risk, weak, brittle bones, osteoporosis. Most seniors think they need more calcium for strong bones, but the truth is shocking. The problem is not a lack of calcium, it's a lack of vitamin K2 to put calcium in the right place. Without K2, calcium floats through the blood and gets stuck inside the arteries, where it becomes plaque, stiffness, and eventually circulation failure. That is why doctors like me call K2 the calcium traffic director. It sends calcium out of the arteries and into the bones, exactly where it belongs. When K2 levels are restored, artery stiffness begins to reverse, blood pressure improves, circulation increases, and the bones become stronger instead of weaker. This directly affects leg strength. When arteries in the legs become calcified, the muscles cannot receive blood efficiently, which leads to heavy, tired legs, cramping when walking, coldness in feet, tingling or numbness, slow recovery after activity. But when vitamin K2 activates a protein called MGP, matrix GLA protein, something remarkable happens. The body begins removing calcium from hardened arteries, making them flexible again. Studies show that seniors with sufficient vitamin K2 have up to 57% lower risk of arterial calcification and far stronger mobility compared to those who are deficient. I've seen this transformation personally. One of my patients, a 75-year-old man with severe leg stiffness and poor balance, had been taking calcium supplements for 10+ years without any K2. Instead of strengthening his bones, the calcium was silently packing itself into his arteries. Once we added vitamin K2 alongside a reduced calcium dose, his walking strength and stamina noticeably improved within months, not from exercise, but from better blood flow and less stiffness inside the arteries. And yet, here is the shocking truth. The majority of seniors are completely deficient in K2. Most multivitamins include K1, not K2. Doctors rarely test for it. Diets today contain almost no natural K2 unless eating aged cheeses, grass-fed butter, natto, or organ meats. That means even seniors who eat healthy are almost guaranteed to be missing it and paying the price through calcified arteries, weak bones, and poor leg circulation. Once vitamin K2 levels rise, seniors often report less leg stiffness, better blood pressure, more stability when walking, stronger bones and joints, warmer feet, and better endurance. And unlike medications, vitamin K2 does not force the body. It guides the body back to balance, helping it remove calcium buildup naturally. Number 1. Vitamin D3. If there is one vitamin that I check in almost every senior who comes into my clinic, especially those with leg weakness, shortness of breath, balance problems, or poor circulation, it is vitamin D3. And I can tell you this with complete honesty. The majority of seniors I test are dangerously deficient, even those who spend time in the sun or believe they eat healthy. Vitamin D3 is not just a bone vitamin, it is a hormone-like nutrient that controls over 2,000 functions in the body, including artery strength, muscle power, inflammation levels, immune balance, blood pressure, and even oxygen delivery to the legs. When D3 levels fall too low, the entire system begins to weaken, and the first signs often show up in the legs and circulation. Let me explain why. After 60, the skin loses its ability to convert sunlight into vitamin D. Even 30 minutes of sun exposure may produce less than 20% of what the body could make when younger. On top of that, seniors tend to eat fewer foods rich in D3, the kidneys process it less efficiently, and many take medications that block its absorption. Over time, the body reaches a point where everything slows down. The muscles weaken, the arteries inflame, the blood pressure rises, and the bones lose density. That is why low vitamin D3 is linked to poor leg strength and balance, higher fall risk in seniors, muscle loss and slow recovery, increased artery stiffness, checkmark fatigue and low energy, poor blood flow to legs and feet, higher risk of stroke, heart attack, and circulation disorders. When I look at the research and my own patients, one pattern is undeniable. Seniors with optimal vitamin D3 levels walk better, stand longer, think clearer, and live more independently than those who are deficient. And here is something most seniors never hear. Vitamin D3 is the switch that activates both vitamin K2 and calcium. Without enough D3, the body can't absorb calcium into the bones, can't use K2 properly, and can't power the muscles. That is why I refer to D3 as the master regulator, because it does not help just one system, it supports the entire framework of mobility and artery health. I worked with a 79-year-old woman who constantly felt her legs gave out after a few steps. She had been diagnosed with neuropathy and arthritis, but when we checked her blood levels, her vitamin D3 was almost non-existent. 3 months after correcting her deficiency, nothing fancy, just proper dosing, magnesium, and K2. She told me something I will never forget. "Doctor, I feel like my legs woke up." That is what D3 does, not by masking symptoms, but by reactivating the body's ability to repair itself. When vitamin D3 levels rise, seniors often report more leg strength and coordination, reduced inflammation in knees and hips, better balance and posture, higher energy in the morning, less shortness of breath while walking, warmer hands and feet from better circulation, stronger immunity, and fewer seasonal illnesses. This matters because muscles cannot function without D3. Studies show that seniors with low vitamin D have up to 40% greater loss of muscle mass and double the risk of falling, not because of age, but because the muscles don't get the signal to stay strong. And there is more. Vitamin D3 protects the endothelial cells inside the arteries, the same fragile cells that determine whether blood flows easily or whether inflammation builds up and narrows the arteries over time. When D3 is restored, the arteries become more flexible, blood pressure improves, and circulation to the legs increases, all without medication. Now, here is the part that shocks many seniors. Even if a doctor says you're within normal range, your level may still be too low for protection. Most labs consider 30 nanograms per milliliter normal, but for artery strength, muscle power, and fall prevention, the ideal range is often 50 to 80 nanograms per milliliter. That is why so many seniors with normal blood work still feel weak, tired, and unstable on their feet, because the normal range is not the optimal range. So if you have ever said, "I feel weaker every year, even though I'm trying. My legs don't hold me like they used to. I get tired fast when I walk. My balance is not the same anymore," then vitamin D3 deficiency should be investigated immediately. Because the truth is this: strength after 60 is not just physical, it is chemical. Muscles are not powered by willpower. They are powered by nutrients, oxygen, blood flow, and hormonal signals, and vitamin D3 controls all of them. Before we end, I want to leave you with something deeper than just information, because the truth is, this video was not just about 3 vitamins, it was about your life after 60, the part most people never talk about, the part where strength becomes freedom and weakness becomes fear, the part where one small change in your health can decide whether you stay independent or begin to rely on others. I've sat across from hundreds of seniors who said the same thing. I wish someone had told me earlier. Not about medication, not about surgery, but about prevention, nutrients, and circulation, the things that keep us moving long before disease appears. So if today was the first time you learned how vitamin E protects blood flow, vitamin K2 clears calcified arteries, and vitamin D3 restores muscle power, then let this be more than education. Let it be a turning point. Because the moment you understand that your body is not failing, it is simply underfed, everything changes. You are not weak. You are undernourished at a cellular level. You are not slowing down because of age. Your blood flow has been slowing down for years. You are not losing balance because you're old. You are losing balance because your muscles and arteries haven't been given what they need to stay alive and responsive. The worst thing you can do after 60 is accept decline as normal. The best thing you can do is take back control, one decision at a time. If no one has told you this recently, let me be the one. You are not too old to improve. You are not too late to start. And your body is waiting, patiently, to respond the moment you give it what it has been missing. The difference between decline and recovery is not luck. It is knowledge, action, and consistency. So take this video as a starting point, not an ending. Start with one vitamin, one change, one habit, one step forward, because the day you decide to fight back against silent deficiency is the day aging stops being a slow collapse and becomes a chapter of strength, clarity, mobility, and dignity. I'm here with you, and I believe in your ability to turn things around because I've watched it happen too many times to call it luck. Your health is not a number, your age is not a limit, and your future is still under your control.